All right, Krista.
Hi.
Krista Gregg, thanks for being here. Krista Gregg with Bio1 of Colorado. And I kind of made up your own tagline here. Cleaning tough situations all over dinner. All over dinner.
All over dinner.
Let's start over. No, we're going to keep that in there. All over Denver. Cleaning tough situations all over Denver.
No, I like the dinner part. That sounds fun.
Yeah, someone has to clean up dinner.
Someone
you know
has
what
to
I mean?
clean it up.
I do it all the time. And
It can get
annoying.
quite biohazardous.
So if you don't want to clean up after dinner, you call these guys. No, including biohazard, blood, drug decontamination,
Yes.
and gross filth, just general filth.
General filth. Well, so gross filth is like this weird term that I actually, when I first got into this type of business, I had a hard time trying to wrap my brain around it as well. Think of a space. Let's just take a bathroom that has not been cleaned in 3 years.
I have one
You're
of
going to have, well, we can talk after. Maybe we can help. There's grime, there's dust, there's filth.
Yeah.
It's just, it's like a buildup of.
So it's not gross like yuck. It's gross like the accumulation.
Yes, it is. And it needs some serious cleaning. And it's something that maid services won't come in and actually do.
Okay.
It's something that we genuinely are the only ones that will do.
All right. So yeah, give me your elevator pitch. What's your elevator pitch to people?
Oh my gosh. The biggest thing that I want people to know is we lead with kindness and compassion. We genuinely want to come. We want to help in a moment of need. We want to help whether you've lost a loved one, whether you're experiencing a first-time situation with hoarding or with even smaller stuff like mold, rodent urine, and feces. We are just here to help. We have our expertise, we have our playbook, and we have our 5+ years of experience. But at the same time, every job is different because we want to understand everyone's unique goals, needs, wants, and that really matters to our company and to our business. And we serve the Denver area all up to Fort Collins. We go down into Castle Rock, so we're everywhere. Just trying to help the community. That's what really feeds us.
Awesome. You stepped on a lot of my questions there.
Okay.
That's okay. We're going to dive deeper into those. I want to back up a little bit and hear about how one gets into this industry. So you grew up in Colorado. You're a native, right?
I am a native. I grew up in Littleton. I went to LPS high schools. I'm a graduate from CSU.
All right. Go Rams?
Yep, go Rams.
Is that
Is that
I think, yeah, you got to curl your, it's really hard to do. If
it's
you have
been a minute.
arthritis, you can't do it. So
It's from the job. But yeah, I was a CSU grad, and then I met my husband out here, Matt Gregg. We got married at Arrowhead.
he's just off camera, but he's
right
here
there.
today, so he might chime in a little bit.
And in any case, we fell in love and started our life out here in Colorado. And he's actually from Asheville, North Carolina.
Cool. That's a cool town.
It is. It's
Kind of on the come up.
It's a fun town.
Yeah.
As soon as Colorado's economy was like just starting to grow, it was before peak. Asheville kind of followed a similar trend. So we actually ended up moving out to Asheville. And we wanted to be closer to his family. There was a business opportunity out there with the dealership, and we just wanted to get back out there and see what life was like in Asheville. We had our daughter, but I was in healthcare at the time when we found out about Bio1. He was in automotive still, and Bio1 was founded by a gentleman whose wife and I went to college together.
Okay.
The reason I say that is because I kept seeing all of the information in these feeds about this guy that cleans crime and trauma scene cleaning, crime and trauma scenes, and does this crazy work. And
When you say feed, you mean like Instagram feed?
Yeah, sorry, Facebook feed.
Facebook, okay, yeah.
Instagram, all of that.
Okay, cool. So you were working in healthcare. He was working at a dealership,
Yes.
and you were just seeing this stuff online from a friend of a friend, essentially. A
Exactly.
friend's
And
spouse. Okay.
we weren't exactly happy. Like, no one goes to a dealership and says, yes, I want to spend 4 hours here, spend a ton of money. The paperwork can be a little bit crazy. I was in healthcare.
Commission based, which is always a little scary.
Exactly. And then I was in healthcare, and I was doing all the digital media, and people either love you or they absolutely hate you because they just received a bill or something is fishy. And there's only so much power you have in those situations, right?
Sure. Huge like bureaucracy too.
Yes, these industries can be well hated. And we were feeling a lot of that. And I sent him just as a joke, a text saying, hey, check this out. We could always clean up blood for a living.
Yeah.
And something kept speaking to us about it. And my husband, Matt, pursued it, and it checked a lot of the boxes. It is a franchise. So that was one of the things where we knew that we didn't have the scientific or technical knowledge of how to be safe, how to make sure we're following regulations. But we also knew that we had the heart and the will and some financials to get started to make sure that we can make a deep impact in the community and set us up for success. And that was a big part of it, is we felt like we weren't in control in our jobs to really help people. And this really just flipped that over for us.
That's cool.
So, yeah.
That's
so
great.
It was a joke. It was an absolute joke. And then it ended up being a perfect fit.
So then how did you pull the trigger of leaving your jobs and starting this? I imagine Matt started, right?
Yeah, Matt started it first. He came out. So the headquarters of Bio1 is actually here in Denver. And he flew out here, had training. I was still working in healthcare. And we opened November 1st, 2019. And we got our first call. And
What day did you open? November?
November 1st.
Okay. So
Yep, day after Halloween.
Yeah. All right. So pretty much just right before the pandemic too.
Oh, we couldn't have timed it better because the pandemic opened up an entire new industry of cleaning.
Oh yeah.
And
okay.
so people thought that we were predicting the future.
I was wondering how it impacted you. It sounds like it was a good impact.
It was a great thing.
Okay, one of those industries that was booming.
It was. And we can talk about that too in some of the jobs that we had. And also it was really difficult for us to have safety equipment, PPE, because as I think a lot of people saw, Amazon and these big distribution companies were giving all the PPE as they should have to healthcare professionals, first responders.
It was just all bought up though.
But we had no access. We had, and it was really overpriced. So we had to navigate all these nuances. And I don't know, looking back at
Like 3 months into your business.
pandemic, woohoo.
Yeah. There's all these new challenges that no one's ever faced before.
We kind of felt a little guilty saying that we were thriving while everyone is a little bit struggling. But I think
People are aware that some businesses did really well in the pandemic, right? You know, DoorDash exploded, right? It's like, it's just certain industries did really well and some fail and never came back, right?
Absolutely.
Zoom, like the, conference call, like their stock went through the roof and so did Bio1
100%.
apparently.
Yeah, Google
So,
Meet. That was
you go.
everything for kids having to stay home for school. Our daughter, side note, had to do kindergarten from home for
On
the first
Google
time
Meet.
on Google Meet.
Yeah, that's
that
tough.
was fantastic.
That's no fun.
But yeah, so we started November 1st, 2019, got our first call the day we opened, and I had to leave my corporate office, jobby job, as we call it, and I had never put on a suit. I had never put on PPE. I was his technician. I was following Matt's guide, and this was also his first job too. And I want to emphasize, we lived in a bubble before this. This was the first time we'd ever seen anything traumatic.
Yeah.
And this was, someone had died by suicide. And
Your first job was suicide cleanup?
our first job was a suicide cleanup in the mountains, and there was hardly any cell phone service. There were safety concerns. There were a lot of jitters, as you can imagine, to make sure we do it right and make sure we're safe. And we did it. I mean, we just did it. I mean, it took probably 3 times as long as what we could do now.
Yep.
But you have to just pull off that Band-Aid and just go for it. And we felt really good about the work that we did. Cool. We also finally checked that box of, does this bother us? Because you just don't know until you're in the position.
Yeah. How'd you handle it?
I mean, we just focus on, I think if anything ever feels like it's affecting you, the piece that we keep coming back to is, if not us, then who?
Sure.
And before this industry was created, it was loved ones cleaning up after their loved ones. It was
cannot fathom
neighbors.
that.
It was police officers volunteering. It was just people trying to put on rubber dish gloves, trying to go to the store and get off the shelf, whatever they could find, Clorox or bleach or whatever it may be. And
Well, this is a little dark, but
yeah.
who takes the body?
So that would be coroner, medical examiner.
Okay.
I've actually never seen a body.
Okay, so when you get there, body's gone,
yes.
just the remains. And
I would
just
say
whatever's
99%
left.
of the time. Our team has had to assist in one instance, but it was a very rural area, and we showed up quite early.
Okay.
And we're happy to do whatever we can to help. But, we are there with the blood matter, the biohazards that are left behind, depending on the situation.
Okay.
So, but yeah, people usually have to clean it up themselves. Now, one thing, and I don't want to forget this because I think it's really important from an educational perspective, is people don't realize that homeowners insurance actually covers the work that we do. So if you have homeowners insurance, there's a very good chance that all of our services and the build back from whatever we need to take is going to be covered underneath an insurance claim.
Now, do you guys have to deal directly with the insurances?
We do. In BioOne, the entire franchise system actually has a billing team.
Sure.
So we work directly with them. They're
Okay.
used to working with adjusters. We have an entire process of making sure we're documenting what we're disposing of and what needs to be built back.
Well, that's a great benefit that you guys have over like a mom and pop shop, so that's really cool that, you don't have to deal with insurance because that's not fun.
It's a huge advantage too as a business owner because that's just one layer of time that we don't have to take. We can trust and know that it's going to be taken care of with the corporate office.
For sure. Cool. And then what caused you guys to move back to Colorado? Because you started this in North Carolina.
Yeah.
So then what was the decision and how did that work practically speaking? Just like, did you have to sell that franchise first? Were you able to keep both of them?
We still have the franchise in Asheville, North Carolina.
Oh, cool.
We are, shout out to Charlotte Snelson, who is our operations manager out there.
Yeah.
I'm
sure you pay her well.
She is amazing.
Charlotte, ask for a raise.
Charlotte, we love you. She is incredible, and she is really our right-hand person. I don't know where we would be without her. She is amazing. She knows what it takes to run the business out there, the relationships we need to make, how to talk to clients and customers, and how to build the team. I mean, she has anywhere from 8 to 10 team members working for her out there for us, and we talk with her every day and rely heavily on her. But then, there was an opportunity, a current running franchise was coming up for sale out here in Denver. Okay. And my heart's here. This is where I'm from.
Sure.
I love it.
It's the mountains.
Matt and I met out here, as I said. We got married out here. This was a place where we had a lot of really close friends and still have a lot of really close friends that we're so thrilled to be able to be around. And we just decided it was time to come back home. Home being, where your heart is. And so we ended up, especially with thanks to a lot of the COVID business that came in, we were able to purchase the second franchise and then several years ago moved back. And so the Asheville office actually runs itself for the most part. We do have day-to-day check-ins. And then the Colorado office we're much more just on top of on a day-to-day basis. My husband, Matt, does all the estimates and we work directly with the customers out here.
Cool.
So we wanted to come home.
Yeah. Well, welcome back. We're glad that you're here.
Yes, we're so glad. Oh my gosh.
Not that I can be the one to welcome back. I'm a Texan, so no, but I love it. So you mentioned this earlier, and I jokingly said you stepped on my question, but it's okay. Yeah. Care and compassion are the core values.
Huge.
Yeah. Can you elaborate on that a little bit, and then maybe give us and the listeners like some practical examples of how that plays out in your business?
Oh my gosh. I can give an example for sure. The biggest part is we never, so when someone calls, for instance, and let's say that they just lost a loved one, part of our training and something that we really take to heart is we never want to make any assumptions of what's going on. Mm-hmm. For instance, if you get a phone call and someone says, hey, I just lost my uncle. I don't know. We were trained and genuinely believe we just come with a spot of you lead us with how you're feeling. If I just immediately say, hey, I'm sorry this happened to you, that person may be ecstatic that his uncle died. Like, I mean, I know that sounds terrible, but sure. there are just circumstances and situations where we want the customer to lead us emotionally. Sure. We want them to guide us. You're
not their therapist. So.
We're not there. And, if we sense the emotion, we've had some very emotional phone calls, like, it's not like we never say, I'm sorry. We just let them lead us in that emotional spectrum because our goal is to meet them where they're at emotionally. Okay. And one of the biggest things that have really helped evolve how we treat folks with care and compassion is I did a training several years ago with COVA. And it's the Colorado Victim Assistance Program out here in Denver. Mm-hmm. It's statewide, and they actually help nationally with a lot of different mass casualty events. And they graciously let me in on their annual victim advocacy training. Okay. And I'm the first person that's not a victim advocate to actually go through that training, to my knowledge. And I wanted to learn, how do victim advocates show up? How do they come to the table with some of the empathy and also assist in these big moments?
Yeah.
And so I had a week with them, and that was wonderful. And I was able to pass that training on to our team. And we have constant discussion of, okay, what's the situation? How do we approach it? So I promised you a few examples. I'll give you a biohazard example first, and then I want to give you a hoarding example. So don't let me off the hook with that.
Okay, gotcha.
The biohazard example is we were helping a mother and son. They had just lost their the woman who ended up giving us a call. She lost her husband to suicide. And we show up, and the mother-in-law is there, the mom and the son. And our team is working in the bathroom where it occurred, and we're trying to segment them from the situation. Sometimes folks don't have to be there. Sometimes that's the only place they can be. It really just depends. And so we tried to be as mindful of that as possible. And so I stayed out, and I started talking with them, and I started to get to know them a little bit more. And my husband pulled me aside, and one of the things that we had to dispose of was this Paw Patrol loofah that the little boy had. And it also turned out that they needed some groceries, and the mother-in-law needed some adult diapers, and there were just some critical items in the next 48 hours that were of necessary. So I told them, let me go take care of it for you. It's on our dime. And I came back not only with the items they asked for, but I got the little kid a whole new Paw Patrol play set, and we got him a new loofah, and so he could be excited about, this new play set, and he could go off and play and take his mind off it, and also relieve mom and grandma from everything that they're going through, and just kind of added an extra little tone to the day. It's not like we solved everything for them.
There's nothing you can do.
There's nothing we can do. But if there are moments,
you can make the moment a little better.
Exactly. If there's an opportunity, if there's a way that we can do more or go above and beyond, we will do it. And they actually sent us a Christmas card that year, just reminding us of how much our work meant to them in that moment. And so
when you say that this gives you an opportunity to give back to the community, that really does. That's exactly what you're talking about.
Oh, we love finding those opportunities. We do, and it doesn't happen in every job, but when it does, I mean,
sometimes there's no one there, right? So it's just you guys.
Yeah, absolutely. So, and then there's situations where, for instance, with our hoarding clients, this can be a very deeply emotional situation. A lot of our hoarding clients have not had someone in their home for years. Yeah. We're the first ones, and we're complete strangers. So we really want to understand, it's critical that we understand their needs, wants, and goals. We also want to understand if there are certain things that they want us to do and not do. And what I mean by
hoarding, who usually calls you? Who's reaching out? Is it? I'm sure it's different every time, but is there any pattern or any rhyme or reason why some action is finally taking place? There
isn't a rhyme or reason. It could be, the big categories, if I were to actually categorize it, would be, the first one is, unfortunately, someone has passed away, and the family member's inheriting the estate, and they realize their loved one was a hoarder. It was a complete shock. No one knew. And then they are owners of this new property, and they have to clean it up for sale or for whatever their next steps are. Another piece is, sometimes it's a renter situation, and they're being evicted, and they need to get everything moved out. Moving companies will not just move stuff, especially if there's little critters around, like, out here we have German cockroaches and, things like that. Movers cannot transport that. So we have to come in and we help disinfect. We go through items.
Wow. It's like a multi-day event, I imagine.
It is. And sometimes it's that last minute phone call where they have an eviction deadline. There are situations, though, like there's a gentleman that called us, and family hadn't been in his house for 5 years, and his first grandbaby was on the way. Oh. And he really wanted to embrace family again and spend time with his grandchildren, and he knew at the condition that his house was in, it was unsafe. He also had some medical issues that prevented emergency response teams from safely getting to him at some points. Okay. So that can be a big issue. And when we're done and when someone is ready for that change, it is so cool. Nice. It is so cool.
That's a much better than, the opposite of like it was forced upon them or
exactly.
Something.
We do have...
Doing it willingly sounds great. It's
well, doing
I'm ready
it
for
willingly,
a change.
We have had a few family members call in and this is a big question. This is a frequently asked question that we get a lot. Hey, I know my family member needs help. Can you come and see the property when they're not home and tell us what it needs? We won't do it.
Yeah, you probably can't.
And I mean, there's probably special, unique circumstances, but in general, we have to build trust with the person themselves. It's their personal property. It's their items.
They're hoarding for a reason, right?
Exactly. We can't just come in behind their back. Like, if they find out that a remediation team has been in without their knowledge and their personal property in a deeply sensitive moment, and we say, oh, by the way, here's our remediation plan, you ready to go? It's never going to happen.
Yeah.
And that's not the kind and compassionate path that we're looking for. So, we can have those first initial conversations outside of the house. We can just introduce ourselves and say, when you're ready, let us know. Yeah. We can do room by room. There's so much flexibility in what we do.
Cool. Try to create custom solutions for each person, depending on whatever their needs are.
Exactly. And that was going to be my example with the kindness and compassion with hoarding is I've created plans as simple as 1 page to 10 pages, down to where we talk, where we take our biohazard suits off, how we drive into the community, to it could be a situation where someone only wants women on site because they have a history of violence from men. Like there are situations where we really try to get to know and get into the mindset of who we're helping, and then we accommodate to the best of our ability in a safe manner to make them feel as comfortable as possible.
Oh, cool. Okay.
Yeah.
And I never thought about that, but people might be like insecure about your vehicle being parked out in front of their house, right?
Yes, and all of our vehicles are unmarked. So it's really important to us. No one needs to know why we're there.
Okay.
There are a few people
Does your competition do that?
Not everybody does that. And there's debate
it's a
in our industry.
Marketing opportunity too.
Exactly.
Right?
There's debate in our industry about it. I can see cases being made for commercial properties where it actually would be nice if property managers or people who own large hotels or places of business to see like you don't want to just see a unmarked vehicle show up. It feels
people
maybe a little
jumping
more
out
sketchy.
of hazmat suits and running in.
Like, who are these guys?
Yeah.
But when it comes to personal property and personal situations, it really gives people, when we say we're unmarked and no one needs to know that we're there, we genuinely mean it. No one needs to know what we're doing, what we're cleaning. And also if it is a local, state, national type of situation where there's a lot of news media, we're really careful to tell our teams, look, there's no personal photos of what's going on in here. If anyone pulls you aside or tries to contact you on your phone because they see you're associated with our business, you do not comment. It is not our story to tell. This is not a marketing opportunity for us.
Right.
And I love that I have that experience from healthcare where we went through emergency processes. If there's a mass casualty event, for instance, where someone's coming into the hospital and media is everywhere, there's a direct line of command from the police station and the hospital for who gets to tell the story. It's an ongoing investigation.
Yeah.
It is not for us to talk about. Okay. And so we take that to heart.
Yeah. And all right, so let's talk a little more nuts and bolts of your business, because I'm curious how this whole thing works. How big is your team right now, and what's like the ideal size for you guys?
Oh gosh, it ebbs and flows. We have 3 people out here that are full time, and in North Carolina we have, I think it ranges from like 8 to 10 people. Okay. It's a mix of full time and part time.
Bigger than this one?
We've had it longer. Okay. We've grown it, and I would say too, from a marketing perspective in business, and anyone who's out there, looking at different markets to be an entrepreneur, what I didn't expect was Asheville's more of a tier B market. Everyone knows everyone. And so getting word of mouth and getting networking opportunities is much easier out there. And there's also lower competition than out here in Denver. There's a lot more competition. Right. We're trying to saturate such a bigger place. Yeah. And it's really hard to get that saturation at first. So we're slowly working through that. We also don't want to grow too fast and then not have the people and not be able to have the quality of work. So we do have a few part-timers that we can call out here, especially for the hoarding situations. But when you're doing a biohazard job, you don't want too many hands in the kitchen. You want maybe 2-3 people max on a job site to methodically go into a room. Okay.
And then, so how do you guys price your services then?
Oh, yeah. It really varies on the situation.
Okay.
We get
Are you customizing a quote for each one?
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
We do free estimates. So we will come out. We have to see the space first.
Okay.
Some people want us to give them quotes based off of square feet or, hey, can I send you some pictures? But if you think of a crime scene or a situation where police has been in there, we are the last ones to arrive. So we don't know if a medical examiner has taken a comforter and thrown it in another bedroom. We don't know if someone with biohazard material on their gloves has touched other light switches in the house. If it's a decomposition and undiscovered death, we don't know if there's fly tracks all over the place because maybe it's been a few weeks.
Yeah.
There are so many elements and little nuances.
That makes sense.
And we talk about how you can see surface level what's happening, but bodily fluid and blood is like a liquid. It is a liquid. It travels underneath all of our flooring. It travels underneath countertops. We have to slowly do our job and see what the impacts really are. We'll give a range oftentimes.
Okay.
We will estimate, here's how many hours it could possibly take, and here's the range of our estimate. And if an adjuster is on site and would like a little bit more information, we absolutely will work with them. But with what we do, we have to see it.
Sure.
Yeah, we have to see it. There isn't like a price sheet.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. I didn't imagine you could like standardize that, but also I just was curious things like when it's time sensitive like that, going out and making a quote and all that kind of adds to that time frame. And if it's a time sensitive thing, they need to make a quick decision on it. So how does that work? How fast do you guys try to get those quotes to people?
Yeah, absolutely. So we will, depending on the situation, we're 24/7. So my husband, Matt, answers all the calls. 3 a.m., you call us, he'll answer. I'll wake up too. I'll be over there. Be like, what is it?
What is it? What do we got?
We have some really great phone calls that happen in the middle of the night. And I say that sarcastically. Some of them are very serious 24/7. Some of them are more, this doesn't feel right. We will call you back. Or we just, Some people are calling like for blood cleaning, like they've taken some sort of drugs and they want us to clean their blood in their bodies.
Okay.
Things like that, where it's just like, I can't take the whatever you've inhaled
When
out
like,
of your system.
you need to go dialysis.
Different kind of blood cleaning.
That's different biocleaning.
The middle of the night calls can be hit or miss, but being 24/7 emergency response. If we get those middle of the night calls, if we get a call while we're doing this podcast right now, it's an immediate. Okay, what are the needs? Where do we need to go? Has the police released the scene? I'm just waiting for that one time when someone's trying to ask us to cover something up. We work directly with the police to make sure they've analyzed the
I got
scene.
rid of the body, but I need you guys to come clean up
We are not working for John Wick.
The clues.
So we, and then we respond immediately and we talk to folks. We'll say, do you want to be there? Or do you want us to meet you off site and you just give us the keys?
Yeah, so everything is pretty much unique. Like
I wish I
all
could tell you
customized.
it's like,
They're all custom situations.
yeah, but that's the
unique
best part about our
situations.
day. We wake up and there are some days that we just have no idea what's going to come.
Our business is like that too. You
Yeah.
know, like we try to automate certain things that we can, but ultimately like every project is different. Every client has different needs.
Yeah.
And they, I want to just like put a number out there and just be like, yeah, this is our prices, but you can't because everyone's needs are different. Every project is different. So we pretty much have to give a custom quote for every project too. So I get it.
Absolutely. Well, I feel like that's missing in business in general, where a lot of people are so, how quick can I get this done? We got to move. We're such a speed culture.
Well, it helps with like scalability too. If you
Yeah.
can just systematize your pricing and just like, here's my packages, right? It's like, but ultimately it's a disservice because either one person is going to get screwed, you or the client, right? You're either going to be not charging enough and that's frustrating for you and maybe, and you're spending too much time on it, or you're going to overcharge your client, and that doesn't feel right as a business owner either. So
Absolutely.
I feel you on that. There's no one size fits all.
No, there isn't. And I think the biggest thing is to, no matter which path you take as a business owner, just being able to pivot and being able to be flexible. Just be flexible. There are some circumstances where we give an estimate and we give a range, but something unexpected has happened. Maybe there's a room we didn't know was in the house, or maybe there's an attic.
Do you ever have to go back?
Yeah, we do. It's not often, but there's been situations where we've had to go back. I'd like any business and like any company, we're human, right?
Sure, yeah. Well, not even y'all's fault. They just go, hey, we found this other thing. And
we found this other thing. Or, and I do, if we mess up, or if there is something we forgot, or if there is another element to what we need to accomplish because a customer, found something, or there's another room, we are absolutely 100% going to show up and see what we can do. It's one of those things where, again, it's that kindness, compassion, empathy. We are here to help. Now, we work and we try to be as transparent as possible too. If we see things on site that we have questions about, for instance, if there's a photo album that we find on a hoarding job, we will reach out and say, hey, would you like us to save this? We can absolutely clean this off, and we can make sure we put this aside for you. If we find bills, mail, it could be 10 years old, but it's not our call. Like, that's not our mail. We don't know what is important to them and what's not, what they need. There could be estates that need closed from other family members.
So even in a hoarding job,
we're going through things.
You're going through everything.
Oh, yeah.
So you just try to, but at some level, isn't that like, is it ever your job to make that decision? Or do you have to ask the client about everything?
So because
if you ask the client, they're going to want to keep it, right? That's the whole reason you're there. They want to keep everything.
Maybe sometimes so when we first talk with them, this is about, creating that plan. We actually have a list that we can create with them and say, okay, what are the things that you really want us to find? I can't guarantee it, but what are the things that if we come across, you really want us to find, save, keep? We can even donate.
Yeah. And you guys probably have tons of experience, so you kind of know the things that they want typically.
Yeah.
Photo albums, like, for sure.
We have to kind of get into their mindset of, okay, what is important to them? What matters to them? Well, for instance, there is a woman that we helped. This was one of our first hoarding jobs, and her brother, he had since passed away, but she was living in a hoarding situation, and she had all of his materials, and he collected flashlights and knives.
Okay.
That was his thing, and she wanted to save all of that, and we had these giant storage Tupperware containers full of it, and at the end she said, I want to donate this to, it was something like a Boy Scouts group or something like that, and so it has sentimental value for her because it was her brother's stuff, and she wanted to make sure it goes to a good place. There's other situations where we've been able to, we call it an organized hoard, where it's very dense and things are actually organized and folded and stacked on top, but we go through everything.
Gotcha.
And so if there's purses or coin bags, or if we see even a penny on the ground, we're putting it into a jar. Like any cash, coin, anything of perceived value, we just set aside. And we make sure that we get permission first. So we try to kind of use that hat. But beforehand, before we even start, we really try to get a better understanding from them, and then make sure our team understands what should be saved, what should be donated, and what is okay to dispose of. And if we have any question marks, we just ask them. Oftentimes, they're at the point, if it is the hoarder themselves that have hired us, they're at the point where they're ready to make that decision.
Good.
If they can't, they have a loved one, a therapist or psychologist with them, a neighbor, someone from their church, and they help comfort them and support them through that decision making.
Cool.
Yeah. We like to give them a task too. Sometimes we'll create a clean room and we'll say, okay, we found all of this mail. Can you go through it with us? Or can you sit with, and if they're busy, if they want to be on site and part of the process, we try to find ways to include them so we can still do what we need to do. There are times when they don't want to be a part of it at all. It's too hard, and we respect that as well.
That's very compassionate of you.
We try. We also disinfect afterward.
Okay.
You can imagine a home after all the contents have been removed. That gross filth does apply.
Yeah.
Going back full circle.
Yeah, cool.
Yes.
That's great. How are you guys marketing? What do you guys do for marketing purpose?
Oh gosh, we really try to build a lot of great relationships with law enforcement, victim advocates. Actually, just met a chaplain in Lone Tree this week that was just so sweet and is connecting us around the community. We work with real estate agents, property managers, pretty much anybody and everybody who could possibly need to look us up.
Yeah.
It's the victim advocate and the law enforcement side is really for those emergency response type calls when it comes to a crime scene, trauma scene of that nature. And then when it comes to hoarding, sometimes it could be a therapist calling, it could be a loved one. A lot of times it's a Google search, and we just need to make sure we're popping up and having the best presence online. I feel like
what do
digital.
people search and that you guys show up?
Everything, hoarding remediation, crime scene cleaning, biohazard. It's strange. I never thought people knew the term biohazard remediation, but it does actually get quite a few hits.
Yeah.
And then a lot of times our goal is to just get on a list. You know, when someone's going through a traumatic event, oftentimes they're handed a list from a number of different sources that say, hey, here's some companies you can call.
Yeah.
One of the things that Matt and I are trying to do slowly is biohazard remediation isn't as well known unless you need it. So when you have a home and you need your, landscaping done, or when you have electric, or if your roof needs repaired, there's a lot of information online about how do you qualify a roofer, how do you make sure you're hiring the right landscaper, and there's a lot of options. When you are in an emergency traumatic event and you're handed a list, you have no idea how to qualify these people.
Sure.
There are, like any industry, there are the best, there are the middle ground, there are the worst, there are people to avoid. It's not for us to point people out, but what we're trying to do is offer presentations to whether it's HOAs, victim advocates, law enforcement, and say, let us teach you about our industry. We're going to set aside our Bio One hat, and we're going to tell you what we know about the industry, and we're going to say Bio One may not be the best choice.
Sure.
But here's how you can determine who is the best choice for you. And it's that kindness and compassion. What is best for the community? The community needs to know how to choose reputable and skilled and compassionate companies.
I think that's a mark of a good, healthy business and business owner being able to go, we're not the best for you. I was just telling Justin that. I was like, I turned down a project a while back just because they were asking these questions, and I was like, gosh, I don't think we're the best fit for you. I know someone, and I was able to refer them, and say, hey, you should reach out to this person. I think they're a better fit for you. They're going to do a better job than we would do.
Absolutely.
And it was out of the box of what we normally do, and it just didn't make sense for us to do the project. So I felt comfortable just passing them on to someone who was a better fit for them. So I think that's the health, mark of a health. Because if you just say yes to everything, that's not a healthy way to run a business.
We can't do everything. I mean, and you can be, what is the phrase? Like a master of none, or I don't remember.
Sure.
But we
Jack of all trades, master of none.
Thank you. You knew what I was saying. Sure. Could we get into restoration work? Could we go become GCs? Could we do build backs? Yeah, but then we're not going to be specialists in this one thing. And, I think for us, it's the biohazard, it's the hoarding. Matt has done a lot of extensive training as well with meth and fentanyl remediation. Colorado has some of the strictest guidelines in the country for meth remediation. So that was an opportunity where we can ensure our team is safe, we're safe, we understand what needs to do.
That's scary stuff.
It is, but unfortunately, it's prevalent, and with fentanyl on the rise still, and opioid use on the rise. There are cases where we help officers clean their detention centers and patrol vehicles. There's situations where we're helping folks with their homes because a renter has been in there, unfortunately smoking or doing drugs, and they need it remediated. So we'll help with that.
How do you know, especially with drug remediation, how do you know when you're done and it's 100% clean?
No, that's a great question. So here in the state of Colorado, we actually don't do the testing ourselves. It is part of Colorado protocol that an industrial hygienist is hired, and they come in and they do the testing, and they do swabs all around.
Are you guys working hand in hand with them a little bit? Okay.
Absolutely. Because then once we're done, they come back in and they do the exact same type of testing, and they tell us, okay, here's where you need to focus. Maybe we need to go over here more, or hey, you guys got it down to, the state threshold.
Okay.
And you're good to go. So we don't do the testing. It's a conflict of interest.
Sure.
We're doing the cleaning.
That's...
And so we work really close with industrial hygienists to get that done.
Cool. Are they coming out while y'all are still there, or is it a callback if it wasn't?
I think it's when we're done, they come out.
Probably not something you guys run into very often because you do your job really well.
Yeah. Well, and there are some things too where something it may just need an extra wipe down. You just don't know. And then there's an unfortunate situation where we can then tell too, if depending on how the test results come back, if someone's coming back into the property and using, something seems fishy there, and maybe the property needs to be more secured, or there's some different situations that always arise. It's so unique. But no, it's a thorough process. It's a lot of wiping down walls, wiping down things, going into HVAC systems and cleaning them out. And so we follow the guidance of where they say we need to clean, and then they come back through, and we'll just keep going if they need us to. We will go over and over again. But oftentimes, to your point, It's done in the first try.
Yeah, I imagine. Yeah. Cool. So tell me about like what's on the horizon for you guys. What's like business goals moving forward? What are you guys trying to do more of?
I think right now we're really trying to, I want to lead more with the education focus. I want to make sure that people understand how to choose an appropriate biohazard company. This is such a different market than Asheville. In Asheville, when we started, we could just go out and we could talk to everybody because there really wasn't a lot of competition. Sure. Here in Colorado, we're trying to find different ways that we can differentiate ourselves from our competitors. Mm-hmm. And we want to lead with, if we say we're going to be help first, if we're going to lead with compassion and empathy, to me, the best thing we can do is prove that up front. Yeah. What do you need? How can we assist your business or assist your victim advocacy services? Or can we support your law enforcement event? We've also gotten really involved with Special Olympics because that's just such a great program that is obviously touches everybody around the state of Colorado, and law enforcement's heavily involved in Special Olympics. So we can show up where they're at, and having conversations and slowly introducing ourselves and proving that we care. It's a long-term strategy. Sure. It's not a quick win. But I really feel like that getting more involved and immersing ourselves in some of the things that our target audiences care about is kind of that long-term play. Cool. Geography-wise.
Just being in the community.
Isn't that amazing too? Because someone always knows somebody else or someone has another connection. I think it is completely undervalued. If you just show up too, go to a community event. You can just shake hands, meet people, talk to people. You don't even have to sponsor a booth. You can just show up for free and offer to help or offer to just have a conversation. And if you tell people your needs, wants, goals, and where you're trying to go in the next few years, I think it's part of human nature where everyone wants to help. Yeah. And so just showing up. Cool.
Yeah. That's awesome. Why do you think I do this podcast?
I love this podcast.
Literally, the reason I just started was just give back to the small business community in Colorado. It's like, oh, I can do this. I was already having these conversations with people over coffee. I was like, let's just film it and give it to them, like edit it and give it to them.
Right. So, it's free knowledge. You're like a knowledge broker, but you like, it's just, you're doing it out of the kindness of your heart, and you know people and you meet people. For sure. Awesome. Well, that's pretty much all. Did you have any? Why don't you tell people where they can find you guys? I think that's probably the best thing to do. And if I doubt anyone watching this needs your services right now, right? But maybe if you want them to follow you on Instagram or whatever it is that you guys put yourself out there. No, absolutely. We always lead with, we hope you never have to call us. If you have to call us, then we don't want to talk to you. But if we do. We never want to see your face. I know. Except at a community event. There's a lot of us within this industry that would love to go out of business because that means like the world's hoarding and crime rates and everything's been solved. We have world peace now. Yeah. We have a Sandra Bullock miscongeniality moment, but unfortunately that's not within our control. So what we can do is we can help. And if there is an emergent situation, you can definitely give us a call at 720-365-2393. That rings directly to me and my husband. To find out more information, there's bio1colorado.com. And we're on all of the social media channels. So Facebook, Instagram. We just started a YouTube channel. Nice. We're dabbling in TikTok. YouTube, let's go. Yeah, exactly. And we're on LinkedIn as well if anyone wants to professionally connect. And the handles there are all the same. It's bio1colorado. Okay. And then we are also doing speaking engagements. If anyone truly wants to know or have education about biohazard remediation. Okay. You're pretty serious about this education piece. I want to educate. I feel like it's so important. I have heard so many stories of people choosing the wrong companies, and it doesn't have to be that way. And I feel like more education and more information can really help. Because it has to get done. And if they choose the wrong one, then they're just going to have to go find someone else to do it, come in and do it the right way. And that's the worst. And especially when you're handling so much else. Yeah. Now you're being traumatized by the trauma scene cleaning company. You shouldn't have to go through that. No, but you are. Yeah. It's furthering the trauma. And there's deeper trauma. There's better ways to go about it. And there's kind companies out there aside from just us. Sure. And so I want it's in the if they don't pick you guys, at least pick a good one. Pick a good one. Know what your need are, and know the qualifying questions. It's not a lot of questions. Yeah. But I could see why that information wouldn't be out there. It's like, how do you just, because you don't think about it until you need it. I'm not planning on losing a loved one today. Yeah, like my roof in a few years, this hail in Denver that is going crazy in the last few years, I might need a, roof replacement. That's information you can find online. Yeah. So anyway, if anyone ever needs speaking opportunities and more information about biohazard remediation, we're more than happy to give it.
Cool. Love that. Awesome, Krista. Well, thank you so much for your time.
Thank you, Matthew.
I appreciate you for being here and telling us your story.
Happy to be here. Thank you.
Okay.